There are moments in K-pop that don't explode loudly. They just quietly shake the room. And this week, that moment had one name written all over it. Zhang Yixing. Lay, our unicorn. When the news first dropped that Lay would be expanding his role in the K-pop industry, not as an idol on stage, not as EXO's dancing machine, not as the soft-spoken member we've watched grow for over a decade, but as a producer, people paused. Because this wasn't small. This wasn't a side project. This was Lay stepping in as the producer and overall director for a 7-member boy group, NouerA. Not just composing a song, not just contributing a verse, full production, concept direction, sound identity, strategic positioning. And suddenly, the industry felt different. According to reports, Lay is working closely with NouerA on their upcoming release, overseeing the album as a whole. That means shaping the sonic direction, guiding the creative vision, protecting their brand identity, and at the same time, elevating it. That's executive-level involvement. This isn't idol Lay. This is CEO Lay. And if you've been following his career closely, you know this evolution didn't happen overnight. Lay has always been more than just a performer. From his solo releases in China to his self-produced tracks, he's consistently shown that he understands music structurally, not just emotionally. He studies it, he builds it, he engineers it. Last year, he worked on music for the girl group R.E.D. It was subtle but strategic, a test of positioning himself behind the scenes in the Korean industry again. Now, in 2026, he's expanded into producing for boy groups as well, and not just any group. NouerA, a team that has already been labeled by media as a rising Billboard Rookie. That phrase alone carries weight. It signals global ambition. It signals export strategy. It signals growth markets beyond Korea. And Lay being attached to that? That's not random. That's positioning. The collaboration is reportedly designed to strengthen NouerA's global presence. And honestly, who better than Lay? He's one of the few idols who successfully built a dual-market empire. He understands China, he understands Korea, he understands international branding, he understands digital dominance, he understands how to move between systems without losing identity. He's not just producing sound, he's producing trajectory. And fans noticed, because at the same time this news surfaced, something else resurfaced in everyone's mind. Last month, Lay returned to group activities with EXO after a 2.5-year gap. 2.5 years. For EXO-Ls, that gap wasn't just time. It was longing. It was waiting. It was hoping. It was replaying old stages and wondering if we would ever see all the members together again in any capacity. So when Lay reappeared in group activities, it felt symbolic. It felt like a thread reconnecting. It felt like maybe, just maybe, the distance wasn't permanent. But then December happened. On the very day of EXO's fan meeting, Lay's absence was announced due to unavoidable circumstances. The wording was formal, polite, corporate. But the timing? That's what made fans uneasy. Same day, last minute. And now, with news breaking that Lay continues to expand his activities within K-pop, producing a girl group and now taking full responsibility for NouerA's comeback, eyebrows are raised. Not because fans don't support his growth, but because the timeline feels complicated. If he's active enough to produce, direct, and oversee comebacks, why was he unable to attend the fan meeting? That question is floating quietly across timelines. No accusations, just confusion. And here's where we need to zoom out. Lay's career path has always been different from the traditional idol trajectory. Since focusing heavily on the Chinese market years ago, he built his own company, developed artists, expanded into acting, judging survival shows, and building an independent empire. He transitioned from being managed to managing, from being positioned to positioning others. So when he steps into the Korean industry again, it's not as a junior artist waiting for approval, it's as a stakeholder. That changes dynamics. Producing a group like NouerA isn't a casual favor, it's strategic alignment. It means he sees potential. It means he's willing to attach his reputation to their growth. It means he believes in their scalability. And that's powerful. NouerA are set to make their comeback on March 9th, and now the anticipation has doubled. Not just because of their music, but because fans are curious about Lay's fingerprint on the project. Will the sound lean experimental like some of Lay's solo work? Will there be strong Chinese musical influences? Will choreography highlight technical precision? Will the concept carry symbolic storytelling? When a producer like Lay is involved, expectations naturally rise. But at the same time, the emotional layer cannot be ignored. Because for EXO-Ls, Lay isn't just producer Lay, he's EXO's Lay. He's the member who cried on stage. He's the member who spoke softly but danced fiercely. He's the one who kept mentioning EXO even during long periods of separation. He's the one who called himself forever part of the group. So when schedules overlap, when appearances feel selective, when communication isn't fully transparent, fans feel protective. Not angry, protective. And here's the reality. Idols grow, careers evolve, priorities shift. Lay stepping into a producer role could actually be one of the smartest moves of his career. Longevity in this industry isn't built only on stage presence, it's built on ownership, influence, and intellectual property. Artists who transition into producers secure relevance beyond idol years, and Lay clearly understands that. But growth always comes with perception risks, especially in a fandom as deeply invested as EXO-L. Right now, the situation feels less like a scandal and more like a turning point. A moment where Lay is redefining how he participates in K-pop, not as someone trying to reclaim a spot, but as someone expanding the table. And maybe that's the bigger picture here. Maybe his absence at the fan meeting wasn't about distance from EXO. Maybe it was about balancing multiple ecosystems. Or maybe there are factors we simply don't see. Because behind every headline, there are layers we're not privy to. What we do know is this. Lay is active, Lay is building, Lay is producing, Lay is shaping new talent, Lay is still connected to EXO in some capacity, and Lay's influence in K-pop is no longer limited to being an idol on stage, it's structural now. And whether fans feel shocked, confused, proud, or cautiously optimistic, one thing is undeniable. Lay is not fading, he's evolving. NouerA's March 9th comeback will be the first real glimpse into this new chapter, and when that music drops, it won't just represent a rookie group's return, it will represent Lay's growing legacy behind the scenes. From main dancer to mentor, from idol to industry architect. And maybe that's the real story unfolding right now, because in K-pop, the most powerful moves aren't always the loudest ones. Sometimes they're the quiet shifts that change everything. And just when EXO-Ls thought the tension couldn't escalate any further, the industry dropped another bomb. This time, it wasn't about schedules, it wasn't about missed events, it wasn't about creative direction, it was about assets, real estate, deposits, apartments, homes. It has now been confirmed that SM Entertainment seized the assets of EXO's Chen, Baekhyun, and Xiumin, EXO-CBX, to secure a claim equivalent to 10% of their individual sales. Let that sink in. Not a warning, not a negotiation headline, an asset seizure. According to reports, the action took place over 2 days, February 9th and 10th. The properties involved were not minor holdings. Chen's house deposit bond, Baekhyun's apartment in Ochyeondong, Xiumin's apartment in Hanamdong. These are personal assets. Baekhyun's apartment had been registered back in October 2023. Xiumin's was registered just last month, and now legally tied up in a dispute valued at approximately 2.60 billion KRW, about 1.78 million USD. To understand why this feels so heavy, we need to rewind. Back in 2023, EXO-CBX notified SM of their intention to terminate their exclusive contracts. The reason? Allegations of unfair contract terms and other issues that were never fully detailed publicly, but clearly serious enough to push them towards separation. That moment alone shook the fandom, because EXO isn't just a group, it's history, it's legacy, it's one of SM's biggest pillars. But instead of a clean break, both sides reached an agreement in June of 2023. The members would operate under a separate company. In exchange, SM would receive 10% of their individual sales. On paper, that sounds like a structured settlement, a business compromise, a way to allow independence while maintaining financial ties. But then, things cracked again. CBX later refused to pay royalties, claiming SM had breached the agreement first. And that's where this transformed from a corporate disagreement into a legal war. Because asset seizure isn't symbolic. It's a strategic move used to secure payment and prevent the debtor from disposing of assets. It signals that negotiations have moved beyond internal talks. It means trust is gone. And fans were appalled. Not because they don't understand contracts, not because they think business should run on emotions, but because this isn't just a startup dispute between unknown parties. This is Chen, Baekhyun, Xiumin, artists who have given over a decade of their youth to SM. Baekhyun alone built one of the strongest solo careers under the company's banner. Chen carried vocal lines that defined EXO's sound. Xiumin stood through lineup changes, military service cycles, and group hiatuses. To see their homes involved in a dispute feels deeply personal. And that's why the backlash is massive. Because when fans read headlines like SM seized EXO-CBX's assets, it doesn't read like corporate compliance. It reads like escalation. Now, from a pure business standpoint, companies act to secure financial interests. If a contract states 10% of individual sales must be paid, and those payments are disputed, legal protection measures are predictable. But optics matter. And in K-pop, optics can damage more than balance sheets. The timing also intensifies the situation. XOLs are already navigating Lay's evolving role, already processing shifting group dynamics, already adjusting to solo paths. And now this? It feels like instability around a group that built its reputation on unity. There's also a bigger conversation happening here, one about artist contracts in K-pop. For years, idols have spoken cautiously about long-term agreements, revenue splits, and transparency. EXO-CBX's 2023 contract dispute was one of the rare moments where senior artists publicly challenged their agency. That alone was bold. But now, seeing it reach asset seizure level suggests this isn't a minor disagreement. It's a power struggle. And here's the uncomfortable truth. When idols reach a certain level of success, they begin to realize their leverage. Baekhyun is not a rookie. Chen is not replaceable. Xiumin is not dependent on debuting again. They have brand value, fan loyalty, market recognition. When artists at that level push back against contractual structures, it forces the industry to confront something it prefers to keep controlled: autonomy. But autonomy comes at a cost. Legal battles are expensive, public disputes are messy, reputations get tested, and fans are caught in the emotional crossfire. Many netizens expressed disappointment. Some directed it at SM, accusing the company of being overly aggressive. Others questioned why the situation escalated this far instead of being resolved privately. There's also confusion. If an agreement was reached in June 2023, what exactly broke down afterward? What clause was allegedly breached? Was there miscommunication, accounting disputes, distribution disagreements? The public doesn't have full details, and that vacuum creates speculation. What makes this even more layered is that EXO as a group still technically exists under SM. So what does this mean for future group activities? Can group promotions coexist with ongoing legal disputes?
Will this freeze collaborations? Will tensions spill into future scheduling? These are the questions fans are quietly asking. Because beyond the headlines, people just want stability. They want to support CBX's solo endeavors. They want EXO to remain intact. They want fairness. They want respect. But right now, the situation feels like corporate chess. SM securing assets signals they are confident in their contractual position. CBX refusing royalties signals they believe the agreement was compromised. Both sides clearly believe they are justified. And when both sides feel justified, resolution becomes harder. Still, one thing is undeniable. EXO-CBX are not silent rookies. They are veterans navigating the most complex phase of idol careers, the transition from agency-dependent artists to self-directed brands. And transitions are rarely smooth. The 2.60 billion won figure may look like a number on paper, but behind it are years of training, touring, album sales, endorsements, vocal strain, injuries, and loyalty. That's why this hits emotionally, because fans remember the early days, the growl era, the stadium concerts, the subunit promotions, the laughter on variety shows. Seeing those same members now in legal headlines feels surreal. Yet maybe this is the reality of second-generation longevity in K-pop. As idols mature, so do their business disputes. And maybe what we're witnessing isn't collapse, it's restructuring. Painful, public, complicated restructuring. The coming weeks will matter. Will there be mediation? Will statements clarify the breach claims? Will payments be negotiated? Will group promotions be affected? Right now, everything feels tense, but one thing hasn't changed. Chen's voice, Baekhyun's stage presence, Xiumin's steadiness. Legal disputes don't erase talent. Asset seizures don't erase legacy. But they do test relationships, and XOLs are watching closely, not with blind loyalty, but with hope that whatever comes next protects both the artist's dignity and the group's history. Because EXO was never built quietly, and it won't navigate this chapter quietly either.